Looking for magic cards? At flipsidegaming.com you can now use the promo code LVD to get a 10% discount on orders over $10 while supporting the channel at the same time. Hello and welcome to another Magic Arena gameplay video. Today we're taking a look at a blue-black Thief of Sanity deck. So of course one of the build rounds is Thief of Sanity, 3 mana for a 2/2 flyer, that when it deals damage to the opponent we get to look at the top 3 cards of that player's library, exile one of those cards face down and the rest goes in their graveyard. And then we can look at and cast that card for as long as it remains exiled, and we can spend mana as though it were mana of any color to cast that spell. So a very fun card once it gets going, and basically lets us play the opponent's deck and kill them with their own cards, which is pretty satisfying. And to help us protect Thief of Sanity, we kind of built a deck around it. We've got a bunch of discard effects to make sure we can get rid of opposing removal spells out of their hand, and a few ways to protect our Thief of Sanity once it's in play. So let's take a look at our entire list, which is pretty reminiscent of the mono blue tempo deck, so it does have a lot of similarities. So at 1 mana we've got our 3 copies of Terramander as a nice 1 mana evasive threat that we can later adapt into a 5/5 flyer, and we've got a lot of instants and sorceries to fuel the adapt. We've got 4 copies of Siren Stormtamer as a 1 mana 1/1 flyer that we can sacrifice to counter a spell or ability that targets us or a creature we control, so it can help us protect our Thief of Sanity if we've got the spare mana. And then we also have the full 4 copies of Curious Obsession as another way to get ahead on cards. Since we are playing all these discard effects and all these ways to protect our creatures, it makes sense to also include Curious Obsession in our deck, and as you all know, once you get going with Curious Obsession, that's an easy way to win the game. And then to protect our creatures, we've got 4 copies of Dive Down that can give our creature +0/+3 and hexproof until end of turn, as well as 2 copies of Spell Pierce that counters target non-creature spell unless its controller pays 2. And then at 2 mana we've got our full 4 copies of Discovery Dispersal to help us look for Thief of Sanity if we don't have one in hand already, and to kind of smooth out our draw. And we can cast it with either blue or black mana, so even if we're missing black mana we can still cast it. And then the Dispersal half can also come in handy as sort of a removal spell to bounce an opposing permanent and make the opponent discard. Then we've got the full 4 copies of Thought Erasure as a discard spell that also lets us surveil 1 and can take any non-land card from the opponent's hand, so either a threat or a removal spell for a potential Thief of Sanity, so very versatile card. And then also the full 4 copies of Kitesail Freebooter, which lets us take a non-land, non-creature card from the opponent's hand and exile it as long as a freebooter's in play, and also gives us a nice 1/2 flying body that we can maybe enchant with the Curious Obsession. And Kitesail Freebooter alongside Siren Stormtamer and Hostage Taker are all pirates, which is why we're playing 3 copies of Lookout's Dispersal, whereas the mono blue tempo deck has Wizard's Retort, we have Lookout's Dispersal, which for 3 mana counters target spell unless its controller pays 4, and if we control a pirate it costs 1 mana less to cast, so just 1 in a blue to cast a Lookout's Dispersal if we control a pirate. And then of course we've got our full 4 copies of Thief of Sanity, and finally 2 copies of Hostage Taker as another pirate that lets us play with the opponent's cards. And then the mana base is very straightforward, 9 islands, 5 swamps, and all the blue-black dual lands, catacombs and watery graves. So that's the deck. Now let's jump into some games and see how the deck does. We've got our Thief of Sanity with the Dive Down. You gotta keep this, don't have a 1-drop to go with the Curious Obsession sadly. A good draw here would be either a Kitesail Freebooter or a Thought Erasure. Against a mono red deck we're gonna have a hard time. They've got way too many burn spells for the Thief. Let's just jam a Thief of Sanity. Next turn we can play second Thief with Dive Down backup. Well, there's a Freebooter a little bit too late. We might have to just Hostage Taker the Steamkin, just to reset it so we don't get completely destroyed, instead of playing Thief. Yeah, like the Hostage Taker's gonna die 100% of the time, but at least we won't get hit for 4 by the Steamkin. If we had a turn to freebooter, then maybe we had a chance this game. Interesting. If they had a removal spell for Hostage Taker, they would have just used it. So they could attack with a Firebrand. So this implies that the removal spell maybe deals 1 damage, like a Goblin Chain Whirler, for example. That they can deal 1 damage with Lava Runner, 1 with Firebrand, 1 Chain Whirler. If they had a shock, they would have still fired it off alongside the Firebrand. And we'll take it. And there's a Chain Whirler as expected. Alright, well, that went better than expected. I kind of like playing the freebooter here to see what's up. They might have an Experimental Frenzy in hand. Well, double Frenzy it is. So it doesn't do a whole lot here. Yeah, why not? I'm kind of hoping they go for the Chain Whirler block. So far so good. So yeah, Hostage Taker's attacking, Freebooter staying back, take it from there. And then the plan is to get the Thief out there. Could have also attacked with the Freebooter to keep the Curious Obsession on the Hostage Taker and then have a 3/4 blocker back. So when they do find another spell to turn these into 2/2s, we'll have a good blocker back. Could have been reasonable too, but this kind of forces the action on the Firebrand. And Firebrand was going to be good against our Terramander. Opponent runs out Frenzy. Sadly, we don't have the Spell Pierce. Alright, let's get in there. Probably sending the Hostage Taker. I want to find some cheap burn spells. That'll work too. Although if we cast this, we turn on the Gitu Lava Runner, we have to keep in mind. So there is some drawback to casting this. How many spells do we have? Just a 1. If we run out double Terramander and they... we could even play the Steamkin and then the Light Up the Stage to grow this. I actually don't hate that. The problem with playing Terramanders here is that if our opponent top decks a Chain Whirler, we kind of get wrecked. So I think we'll do this, see what we get. Some lands. And then we can run out Storm Tamer as more insurance. Seems okay, and I'm happy trading Steamkin for Lava Runner. Alright, let's hope they don't get too crazy with this Frenzy. A Light Up Stage for 3 mana, that's not too bad. Ooh, there's Chain Whirler, so that's gonna happen next turn. Wizard's Lightning, I think we sack the Storm Tamer since that has an expiration date. Hopefully no land into another burn spell. There's a land, no shock or Wizard's Lightning please. Alright, they're gonna stay back. Maybe chumping the Hostage Taker. Alright, let's get in there. Could have attacked with a Steamkin. But if they decide to take the damage from Hostage Taker, I don't want to be in a spot where we get attacked. Taking the shock seems decent. Firebrand dies to the Chain Whirler, so... And then, how close are we to transforming Terramander? Let's see. We've got one spell. So not too close. Shock sadly doesn't count for our Terramander. We could of course dive down to protect it, but that seems kind of a waste. Just say go for now. Alright, there the Wizard's Lining as well. Fair enough. At least Chain Whirler's not happening now. And the Hostage Taker's gonna continue attacking. So don't hit our spot. More Curious Obsessions. Could put that on the Freebooter now. If they have a shock on top, we kind of get punished, but it's not super likely. Could put another one on the Hostage Taker, could diversify, put it on the Steamkin. The Steamkin is not gonna grow anymore now that we lost the Thief of Sanity. I think I'm gonna double up on the Hostage Taker. And I will send both other creatures as well here. Try and get this game over with. Alright. So we can't quite adapt Terramander. How many Chain Whirlers have they seen already? They've got one in the graveyard, one in exile. Does that change the clock in any way? 5, 6, 7, 8. Not really. I think I'll hold the second one. Could have also cast Shock to grow the Steamkin by 1. But I think I want to hold this in case they have a Lava Runner or something. Alright, more Frenzies. Shock the Terramander, that's fine. So we're kind of doing it. So they're just dead now. Sweet. This sounds a little on the slow side. No early plays. This costs us 3 mana until we get the Hostage Taker down. And we're on the draw. But I'll still keep it. Got a Spell Pierce early, I guess. Alright, that was a good draw. Ooh, that's a good hand though. 3 answers to Thief of Sanity. Probably want to take the Cry of the Carnarium, since if we take Mortified and Cry answers both Freebooter and Thief of Sanity. It's a close one though. Like, Cry doesn't play at instant speed, so it's easier to counter with Dispersal. So yeah, this is gonna be a difficult game to play. Opponent drew a cast down as well. At least they're missing a land drop, so they won't be able to run out the ferry anytime soon. So if we play Thief, they're just gonna main phase kill it. So we probably just wait. I gotta find some protection. Double Curious Obsession ain't gonna do it. Hostage Taker does have the upside of eventually maybe being able to protect the Thief of Sanity from a sweeper effect. But I think we just run it out there. Hey, thanks for the 2 months there. And Bob61, welcome back. Alright, Freebooter's actually pretty good alongside Dispersal. We can play Freebooter. If they try and Mortify it, we can Dispersal, take the Cry, and then maybe we can play Thief next turn. they don't have double blue, so... maybe their last card is a counterspell, and indeed it's an absorb. Alright, so I think we have to take Cry. Hope they don't find a 5th land for Teferi. And then we might just go on the Curious Obsession beatdown plan. Because if we take Teferi, then they just Cry next turn, kill the freebooter. Alright, second freebooter is actually pretty great. There's a lot of ways we can play this. So your opponent found a card that they couldn't play, so either it's another double blue card, or it's a Chemist's Insight that they're gonna fire off end of turn, or it's another Teferi. Those are the types of cards our opponent could have. We could play a freebooter to see if the coast is clear. And then the question is, do we play both Curious Obsessions or just the one? Could also play Thief of Sanity. Could Obsession first. But if they did draw a removal spell, we kind of get crushed. Although it's unlikely they would have waited. Could make a case for Obsession first in case we draw dive downs or other counter spells. Alright, don't love the spas. Alright, it was just a negate, fair enough. So we'll Obsession again, I think, over Thief of Sanity. Resolving Thief is also tempting, but now we get to freebooter the Teferi, which I think is more important. I guess we can still play a Thief. Taking Teferi seems better. And then try and leverage this 2-3 freebooter that now doesn't die to Cry. Thought Erasure takes Thief, that's okay. Alright, pretty interesting game. Storm Tamer's pretty good, so if we play Storm Tamer, we could get wrecked by Kaya's Wrath off the top. Still, I think we run it out here. Oh yeah, I guess they'll absorb it now anyway. So it doesn't matter too much, I guess. Since they finally found double blue. But still a good exchange for us, I think. Alright, I guess I'll keep this one in hand. Oof. Yeah, that's what we needed to dodge. Well, now the game's probably over. Opponent's gonna play Teferi next turn. We could dispersal it, but they'll have plenty of cards to discard. So I think we're digging for something here. Not sure what. Storm Tamer dive down. Yeah, like even if we found a Thief of Sanity, they have the Cry of the Carnarium. So we could make the case for keeping dive down and then hoping to draw a Thief of Sanity later. Or we can just bottom both and try and draw a Thief and then dive down. I guess we'll keep a dive down. But between Teferi and Cry, they'll have multiple answers. I don't know, this is rough. We're probably dead here. Could have also made the case for bonding them both, in the hopes of finding Lookout's Dispersal to counter Teferi. But yeah, now the game's just over. Alright, what about this one? Seems okay. No Thief, but we've got a decent disruptive curve. With the turn 1 Terminator, so if we draw Curious Obsession, we're off to the races. Shivanfire, alright. I think I like Thought Erasure over Freebooter, so we can try and find a third land for Thief. Opponents on the Temur Reclamation deck. Just take the Surtrust Kanta. Obsession would have been nice if we still had a Terramander, but I think we bottom it now. Did they draw another Shivan Fire? Looks like it. Alright, it's unfortunate. So, didn't really get to take anything. But at least we got rid of a Shivan Fire, so maybe Thief of Sanity can connect. No, I don't think we want Terramander. Alright, if they play a Reclamation, we're in trouble. So we've got a few options. We could just run out Thief. Opponent gets to cast Chemisters inside, they'll draw 2, plus 1 from their draw step. So they'll have 5 fresh cards. Pretty likely that they find either a removal spell for the Thief or a Reclamation to start going off. Freebooter offers us a little bit more disruption. Or we could keep up Lookout's Dispersal. But that's pretty reactive and our opponent's got a Chemisters inside, so they get to play at instant speed pretty well. So I don't think keeping up Dispersal is the play. It's either Thief or Freebooter. The problem with Freebooter is that it doesn't really pull us ahead, but it is probably the best play against a potential Reclamation. So I don't hate keeping Dive Down up and playing Freebooter here. And the opponent does play Fiery Cannonade, which we can counter thanks to all our pirates. Yeah, we'll just take a Chemisters here. And then Dive Down protects Freebooter from the blink. Uh-oh, is this a Nif Mizzet? Or maybe just blink to play around Spell Pierce? Alright, that's a good draw. Let's attack, play Thief, I still have Dive Down up. Now the question is, do we Dive Down the Freebooter when they go and blink it? I'm not sure. They've got one unknown card plus a draw step. Can't really interact with Nif Mizzet with Dive Down anyway, can Hostage Taker it next turn. So I'm tempted to just Dive Down the blink here. Looks like they have a expansion to copy blink, fair enough. So it'll bounce Thief once again. Well, at least we didn't get Explosioned. Reclamation with 1 card. Alright, might be doing it here. Opponent stop decking and we've got a Thief in play. Oof, Chemisters is rough with the Reclamation in play. Not what we wanted to see. Needed them to brick for 1 turn. Alright, 1 card. Opts. Opponent's digging. They can jumpstart Chemisters here. See if they can find a Shivan Fire for the Thief. They cannot. Alright, we finally get to connect with Thief. And our opponent just concedes. They don't want to let us draw an extra card from their deck, they're just over it. Alright, fair enough. Yeah, the sand seems fine. Turn 1 Stomping Ground. Red-green beatdown decks could definitely be bad matchups, instead it looks like another Reclamation deck. So we get a rematch. I think I like freebooter, so we get a cheaper dispersal the turn after. Alright, that's quite a hand. Expansion, of course, can be used to counter our Lookout's dispersal as well. Just taking the Chemistress seems okay, since we get to exile it, so they don't get to jumpstart it either. And then next turn we can play Curious Obsession, take it from there. Could also take the counterspell, but I think I would rather just take the Chemistress. And then next turn we've got a few options. Probably not jamming Thief into a Sabotage. More freebooters. I think I like Curious Obsession and then have Lookout's Dispersal up. I guess we could also just Thought Erasure, they counter it. And then we Curious Obsession. Is that better? I guess it's still better to like keep the Thought Erasure for later, as that can take a Niv Mizzet as well. So I expect this to get countered, and then we'll Curious Obsession, probably Curious Obsession on Freebooter to play around Shivanfire. Although never mind, they can just play Kicked Shivanfire. So Obsession on Terramander still gets wrecked by Fiery Cannonade off the top. But they kept the card on top. I don't think they would keep Fiery Cannonade on top. So I think we'll put it on the Terramander to diversify. Alright, we'll see. I guess I could Shivanfire and then copy it with Expansion. Instead it's just a Search for Azcanta. Alright. So if we Thought Erasure, they could copy it. I don't think I mind. I think I just want to Thought Erasure Dispersal here instead of playing Thief, since I want to have protection. But I guess we can attack first. Yeah, I think I like Thought Erasure here. They're pretty far away from flipping Azcanta anyway. And if they copy it, then we counter, and then we get to take both expansions, explosions. Alright, so our opponent stop decking, another dispersal seems okay. So next turn we can go Thief plus Dispersal. They only have a single red, so they're pretty far away from casting a Niv Mizzet. They might have their own counterspell here, and then do we fight back? Can decide when it's on the stack, I guess. So if we Dispersal here, how many spells do we have in the graveyard? 3. So 3 spells in the graveyard. Next turn we can adapt Terramander, still not quite a 1-turn lethal hit. I think we counter this. Might be a little bit greedy. Yeah, they get to flip Azcanta no matter what here. So yeah, next turn we could adapt Terramander, which would be 1 point short of lethal. But now let's say they do find a Shivanfire, it's unclear which creature they want to kill, since they're all pretty good. Alright, opponent doesn't find what they're looking for and packs it up. So the Temur Reclamation matchup seems decent. Good disruption, and then a few key threats that can win the game by themselves. Alright, this hand looks pretty good too. Alright, up against the mono blue. presumably. Could be Drakes too, I guess. How do we want to start this off? Playing Freebooter also gives us a blocker, and maybe an attacker with Curious Obsession next turn, so I think I like that over Thought Erasure. Even though Thought Erasure can get Spell Pierced and Freebooter cannot. Yeah, I think I'll lead with the Freebooter here. Spell Pierce, Curious Obsession, so we gotta take the Curious Obsession here, otherwise they can attack past the Freebooter. But they do indeed have the Spell Pierce, so this Thought Erasure is gonna be a little bit more tricky to resolve. Alright, so we could play a land, go for our own Curious Obsession, and then we can pay for Spell Pierce, or we can just play a Thief of Sanity, which is probably better. And then next turn we have a lot of options. Surgemare. Alright, so putting a Curious Obsession on Thief of Sanity sounds pretty good. And then Freebooter can play defense. Could also Thought Erasure first, but I think we would rather just Curious Obsession and have Dive Down backup. Could also Curious Obsession Freebooter, attack with both. If they double block Thief, we can Dive Down for the blowout combo trick. What if they have their own Dive Down? Then they kind of just bounce off. Interesting spot for sure. If they have a Tempest Djinn, how does that play out? I think I'll put it on the Thief. Like, the problem with putting it on the Thief is that we're putting all our eggs in the same basket. But, I think I still wanna play it like this. It's close though. And all their creatures are pretty valuable, so if they want to start chum blocking, that's fine by me. Alright, so they might have their own Dive Down. No, just a chum block. Works for me. Alright, so the problem here is if they have a Tempest Djinn and we Thought Erasure, they just Spell Pierce the Thought Erasure and we don't get to take Tempest Djinn. And Tempest Djinn is the biggest problem we can face. I guess we'll just play a Terramander for now then. Yeah, definitely a very complicated sequence. Hopefully no Tempest Djinn. Yeah, there's a Tempest Djinn. So, if we wanted to play around Tempest Djinn better, we should have just cast a Thought Erasure before playing the Curious Obsession to play around Spell Pierce. Now, I'm not sure how we deal with this. More Thought Erasures. We'll start here. Like, on the bright side, it's not like our opponent can really make any great attacks. Wizard's Retort can go. Don't want more Dive Downs. And we're not too far from growing the Terramander here. If we Thought Erasure again, they just Spell Pierce it, we don't get to Surveil. Probably just want to keep up Dive Down. Problem here is that the Curious Obsession is going to fall off. Yeah, we gotta wait for a Hostage Taker pretty much. Although they'll have the Storm Tamer to protect it, so it's unclear how we get rid of this Tempest Djinn. Maybe just Discovery Dispersal, bouncing the Tempest Djinn for a turn. I think we could have played this a little bit better to play around Tempest Djinn. Although then again they can also Storm Tamer to counter the Thought Erasure, so difficult to get to a Tempest Djinn in their hands with a Spell Pierce and a Storm Tamer to protect. No blocks. More Curious Obsessions don't really do much here. It's just a Thought Erasure, and I think I'll pay if they Spell Pierce just to get the Surveil, and maybe grow the Terramander faster. Freebooter doesn't do a whole lot. think we put that in the graveyard. So yeah, this game kind of boiled down to whether or not our opponent had the Tempest Djinn in those couple of draw steps, and they did. So currently we have 3 spells for Terramander. So a land lets us adapt. Opponent is getting ahead with the Surge Mare. More freebooters. Alright, I guess we'll run that out there. Maybe a Wizard's Retort. Yep. That's fine. Oof, another Tempest Djinn. That's rough. Alright, well. Tempest Djinn is definitely kind of the creature that dominates the board once it hits. Actually, I have a good triple block here. They'll probably put the Thief first, and then Dive Down isn't enough to protect it. But then we can dive down the second creature in the line of blockers, or they might try and kill the Terramander. And then we can protect the Thief. Either way, I think we need to make this block. And we'll see which one they put first. And then we have to decide how to play the dive down. Alright, so they put Freebooter first, followed by Thief, followed by Terramander. So if we dive down the Thief, we save Thief and Terramander. They get their Curse Obsession back. I guess that's okay, since damage is assigned from left to right, if I get it correctly. Alright, so I think the plan now is just to kind of play defense. Can grow the Terramander to block the Djinn. And then at some point we can maybe double Curse Obsession one creature. Yeah, we don't want them to top deck their own dive down. Alright, they're gonna Obsession on the Surge Mare, which is a decent play. So we'll see here. They can activate Surge Mare twice. So if we adapt Terramander, they would have to pump Surge Mare twice, and then they just trade. Trade Surge Mare for Terramander. Alternatively, we could let them hit us, and then we can Curse Obsession twice on an adapted Terramander. And try that. This one's close too. Think we'll just go for the trade here. Alright, this could potentially be very good if we dispersal the opponent. We can get rid of the Tempest Djinn for a turn, and if they're empty-handed we can make them discard it. We could jam double Curse Obsession right now on a Thief and kind of force a trade Tempest Djinn for a Thief and double Obsession, but it doesn't seem great. We could Discovery to look for like a dive down to help protect that, or a Hostage Taker. This one's close. If they go Obsession on Tempest Djinn, then Dispersal also looks great. So I think we wait. Yeah, we need one more land for Dispersal, but that's kind of the plan here. Exclusion Mage. It's kind of annoying, since now they can bounce that instead of the Tempest Djinn, so that kind of ruins our entire plan. Yeah, well, now we're pretty far behind. And they had the land for the Storm Tamer, otherwise we could have stolen the Tempest Djinn. Yeah, that's rough. So we can Hostage Taker to force them to sack the Storm Tamer, basically. Gotta hope to top deck a second Hostage Taker off the top, basically. Got a Thief to chum block with. So yeah, in hindsight, it looks bad that we didn't just cast Discovery now, since we never drew a land. But I think it made sense at the time. Don't really expect them to play Exclusion Mage. Gotta play Thief of Sanity just to survive. If they have a counterspell, we're dead anyway. We can Discovery to try and find a land at least. So might as well do that. This loses to a Spell Pierce, whereas just playing Thief doesn't. Alright, there's a land. Don't think that does anything. Need a Hostage Taker. Could have also gone with the Curse Obsession on the Hostage Taker plan. Don't think that would have done much. So it was an interesting game with a lot of decisions. I wonder if we could have played slightly differently at some point. Like the early turn where we went Curse Obsession on Thief of Sanity. If we go for Thought Erasure, do they sack the Storm Tamer? Or not, maybe. That's pretty ugly. Double chum block. Now even a Hostage Taker off the top doesn't do it. Alright, GG's. Sure. Lots of interaction into a Thief of Sanity. Could play a tapped Watery Grave, but there's a non-zero chance we need to Spell Pierce on turn 1. What is this? A Priest of Forgotten Gods, some tokens, Burglar Rats, Carnival Carnage. No real answer for Thief other than the Priest, so I think we just take the Priest. And then we can play a Thief next turn. Take it from there. Hostage Taker seems okay. Yeah, I think we can keep Hostage Taker. And if they play a Burglar Rat, what we discard? Alright, it's just an Instigator for now. Alright, let's hope they didn't find a removal spell for Thief here. In 2 draws, we can't block because of Carnival Carnage. Wow. That's brutal. Alright, well. Let's play a Hostage Taker, I guess, and steal the Playcrafter. Is that even good? I guess it's fine. Discarding a land if they play the rats. And now we gotta find another thief at some point. That's rough. Think we keep the hard counter, or, well, almost hard counter. Even though we could Playcrafter with Spell Pierce backup. If we play the Playcrafter, we kinda wanna keep the Hostage Taker since that's a parrot, so we can play 2 mana Dispersal. And a 2/3 is maybe better than a 3/2 against them. Don't get the most value out of this Playcrafter, but I guess it's still fine. If they somehow block, then they have to discard a card instead. Alright, well, don't love our position here, but we're kind of forced to counter the Burglar Rats. Which means they still have their light up the stage. Curse Obsession off the top would be reasonable, I guess, if they don't have another Playcrafter. Now we've got some extra protection. Opponent appears to be some sort of a red-black sacrifice deck, so expect to see Judith make an appearance, which is going to be pretty good against us. Being able to take out all our 1 toughness creatures. Our best draw includes Thief of Sanity, Curse Obsession. Even a Kitesail Freebooter would be decent. Alright, so we can bounce a Midnight Reaper and get an attack in. Or we could just dig with Discovery. Our opponent's still at 16, so I don't think Hostage Taker Beatdown is gonna win us the game. So I think I'm down to Discovery. Alright, some interesting cards on top. We already have 4 spells with Discovery. So the Starmander's pretty easy to transform. And then the Curse Obsession. So if we keep Curse Obsession, we could put it on the Storm Tamer. Although then we don't have Storm Tamer to protect it. Or we could just Curse Obsession on the Hostage Taker and attack into the Reaper. But then we don't have an evasive creature if they play more ground creatures. Or we could just keep Terramander, play Terramander this turn, and then next turn we can maybe put Obsession on the Terramander. So a lot of choices here. I think I'm into keep the Terramander and the Obsession and then attack for 1. Could even trade here, wouldn't be all that bad. But I think I want more insulation against another Playcrafter. Play Terramander. And then we'll see what we want to do next turn, whether it's adapting a Terramander or going with the Curse Obsession. There's Judith. So now we definitely don't want to block. And they get to light up the stage. A Reveler and a land. Opponent with the Gruesome Menagerie as well. I guess we can do both here. Adapt to Terramander and Curse Obsession. Of course then we're shields down on Storm Tamer, but that's probably fine. And then how much damage are we taking? 9, so we're dead to any additional Carnival Carnages that they might draw. I guess that's fine. And then we're dealing 6, 7, so we present a 2-turn clock ourselves. Seems okay. I guess we could even Curse Obsession the Storm Tamer instead of the Terramander. So it doesn't die to a single Judith ping. And then the Hostage Taker is free to block. I guess I like that. Alright, Thief. Probably not gonna be too relevant this game, if all goes according to plan. Opponent sends everyone. 7. So is there any way we can beat Carnival Carnage? If we block Midnight Reaper, we take 5, plus 1 from Judith. So that would be a way to survive. If we just block Judith and they have Carnival Carnage, we're dead. So I think I'm into blocking the Midnight Reaper. Of course I get to see some more cards here. Maybe find a removal spell for Terramander. But with the information we have available, I think playing around Carnage makes sense. Alright, what do they have? A light of a stage, they're digging. Open the graves. Not gonna do it here. Alright, close game. I had again some interesting decisions, but Terramander, pretty big here. Alright, sweet. Pretty happy with where we're at. Could make the case for adding some more spot removal like cast downs. Of course, those are going to be dead against some of the control and combo decks, but would give us more game against some of the aggressive decks out there. If we were to build a deck for best of 3, we could maybe balance it out, have some of the counter spells or discard spells in the sideboard, have some cast downs main deck, and then we can sideboard them in appropriately. Not too difficult to build a sideboard for this, just toss in some duresses, some cast downs, some more hostage takers, and you've got a sideboard. Yeah, we could maybe cut 2 Discovery Dispersal for 2 cast down in best of 1, it's totally reasonable. It's nice that you don't have any dead cards against control decks, So in theory, this should have a reasonable matchup against Control, just because of all the discard, and then Thief of Sanity is pretty good. The only bad card is Hostage Taker. Yeah, that's blue-black Thief of Sanity, aka Stockholm Syndrome. So, let's crack a pack. So I want to thank everyone for watching, hope you enjoyed, and as always, have a nice day. I also want to thank all my patrons for being part of the channel, and you can become a patron yourself today and decide the topic of future videos over at patreon.com/LegenVD.